All right, guys, so dividing fractions is something we barely touched on right before break happened. So here's a video on dividing fractions. So I was going to give you this amazing piece of paper. So when dividing fractions, don't ask why, just flip the second one and multiply. So this is what they call the reciprocal. When you flip a fraction, you're using the reciprocal. So we're going to do this today. I'm going to show you how to divide, and it will be, you'll love it. It's pretty easy. Okay, so if our fraction is 1/2 divided by 1/3. Okay, so if that is my fraction, I'm only going to look at the second one, okay? Okay, this is the only fraction that can change, okay? The first fraction stays the same, the second number will change, okay? Sorry, I'm looking for a better marker because that one's terrible. Okay, so what we're going to do is rewrite our problem the way it needs to look, which would be 1/2, okay? And then we are going to flip to create the reciprocal of this, which means I'm just going to take my 1/3 and it will become 3/1. Okay, so I just flipped it. Oops, sorry. So I just flipped the second number. It is a reciprocal. Okay, we've created the reciprocal, and now we can multiply, which we know how to do since we've learned how to multiply fractions. And we will now take 1/3, 1 times 3, which is 3. Then I'll take 2 times 1, which is 2. And my answer is 3/2. And if you watched the last video, we know this is considered an improper fraction. So I need to change my improper fraction into a mixed number, which I know because this numerator is larger than the denominator. So I'm going to put the 3 inside the divisor house, and I'm going to divide it by 2. Some of you can see this right away. If you can't, it's totally fine. 2 goes into 3 one whole time. 2 times 1 is 2. Subtract, you get your 1. That is your leftover. So 2 goes into 3 one whole time. My denominator stays the same as original, and my remainder is 1. So 1/2 divided by 1/3 is 1 1/2. Okay? All right. So we will do one more of those. I'm sorry, my thing is making a lot of noise. Okay, so we are going to just practice doing a couple more problems. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so if I say, all right, sorry, I had to pause my video. Okay, so we're going to do one more example so we could do it from start to finish together, and hopefully that can help do one more. Okay, so if I have 1/8 divided by 4/5, okay, the one we flip, create the reciprocal, will be the second fraction, okay? We will take 1/8 and rewrite our problem times 5/4. Okay, so we can now multiply straight across. 1 times 5 is 5. 8 times 4. Sorry. Okay, 8 times 4 is 32. Okay, and that's all we have to do with that fraction. Okay, so all right. All right, one more thing I'm going to show you with our dividing today, with dividing a fraction to a whole number, which is very similar. So if I have 8 divided by 4/5. Okay, this problem looks pretty much identical, but it's a little bit different in the fact that we have to make this a fraction. This whole number has to turn into a fraction, which happens by making the 8 the numerator and a 1 the denominator. Then I have to create the reciprocal of 4/5, which means I'm going to flip it to 5/4. Okay, so now I just multiply straight across, okay? And 8 times 5 is 40. 4 times 1 is 4, okay? And then I'm going to take that improper fraction and turn it into a mixed number by putting the numerator inside the house and divide it by the denominator. Oops, sorry. Mess that up. Okay, 4 times 10 is 40. So 4 goes into 40 10 whole times. Okay. All right, so we're going to do one more. We're going to reverse the setup. So if the, let's say we have 1/2 times 6, okay, I need to then take that whole situation, and I'm going to have to write 1/2. Oh gosh, sorry. 1/2. Yeah. Okay, so what I was trying to write was 1/2 divided by 6. Okay, so at this point we have now made the whole number in the second spot. Okay, so it changes things up a little bit, but you still handle it very similarly. Okay, so I'm going to take 1/2. I know that my whole number has to become a fraction, so I would have to put it over 1. Okay, I then have to take this second fraction and create the reciprocal. So flip it. Okay, so my new problem would be 1/2 times 1/6. Okay. So at that point, I know 1 times 1 is 1. And I know 6 times 2 is 12. So I have come up with 1/2 divided by 6 is the same as 1/12. Okay. So hopefully you can watch that video a second time. If you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully I can answer them via email or when we Zoom. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye. Okay, so this is the page I'm working off of that you would have gotten yesterday, not yesterday, at school. The whole number on this side is always first. So in this first column, you just create the reciprocal. Right here, you're creating the reciprocal, so you're taking the 4/5 that's here and just flipping it and then creating your new problem and then coming up with the answer. So if you want to do a little extra practice with creating the reciprocal, so on number 2 down here, you would take your 2/3 would become 3/2, and your new problem would be 2/1 times 3/2, so you can then multiply and get your new answer, okay? So if you want to do a couple of these just on a piece of paper to make sure you understand it, you can. You will see a number of division problems like this in Study Island. So feel free to use these practice creating the reciprocal of the fraction, setting up the new multiplication problem, and then coming up with the solution. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.